Okay. Welcome, everybody, to the Hypnotic Sunday service. I'm Evan Baumgardner, board certified hypnotist with Hypnosis in Seattle, Washington. And today I'm going to talk about a question that a lot of hypnotists get. It's obviously if somebody is thinking about hypnosis, hypnotherapy for an issue, this is going to be a concern that they have is it going to work? Or I know somebody that went to a hypnotist and it didn't work. So, why doesn't hypnosis work for everyone? And why hypnosis doesn't work for everybody, it's a bit of a multifaceted question here. There are a lot of different reasons. Um, the most common time I hear this is when people will call me about quitting smoking and they'll be like, oh yeah, I went to a hypnotist like 15 years ago to quit smoking, and I quit for 3 years, and I started again, so I guess it didn't work. I'm like, well, you quit for 3 years, so I would definitely say that it worked. At that point you just started the habit again, and so one is kind of, where are we putting our definition of what success looks like for hypnosis? I think if you go to a hypnotist to quit smoking and you quit for any extended amount of time, really, it's worked. Um, Obviously, the goal would be to never do it again, but there's a point where that's on you. Yeah, like when that's on the client, the habit is broken. You no longer feel that need all the time to have a cigarette like you used to. And obviously there have been years that gone by where that hadn't happened. If you go back to it, that's a choice. At that point, you don't need to do it. There's plenty of evidence there that shows you why you didn't need to do it in the first place. So I would still say in that case it worked. Now, there are also times where somebody goes to a hypnotist and maybe they don't work. They still have that urge, or they're still having whatever issue. I specialize in anxiety and regaining confidence, and this is something that doesn't change completely overnight. I mean, in one session, we can get a lot done where it feels like a whole new world, completely different than before. But there's still work to do, and when it comes to rebuilding the confidence, to getting used to not experiencing the same crippling anxiety that we might have been experiencing before. And that comes over time. So the other thing is, well, I still feel anxious after hypnosis. Is like, yeah, that's perfectly normal. Hypnosis for anxiety isn't eliminating anxiety completely, because we're hardwired to feel it. That's always with us. It is important for us to feel anxiety because it's a survival mechanism. We need it. It keeps us out of trouble. It keeps us out of danger to fulfill that primary biological directive that is at the heart of everything that we do, and that is survival. And anxiety is very important for that. So we'll always feel it in one form or another. I think of it as like there's a voltage and we're grounding the charge so it doesn't affect us negatively in our day-to-day lives. When my anxiety was at its absolute worst before I discovered hypnosis and started using hypnosis for myself, I would have a panic attack anytime I tried to go outside. I had to wait until like 11:30 at night to go to the grocery store when I knew nobody was going to be around. Any sort of like crowded place, I would not be able to breathe. And that was really unpleasant, as especially because up until that point I had loved going to soccer games. And after hypnosis, when I was able to ground that tension, kind of completing the circuit, so instead of all the anxiety just building up and causing like a system overload in me, it would flow through, and it would do that. I still wasn't completely comfortable at first, but I was able to start going back to soccer games and be in a crowd without, having a panic attack. I still had a lot of work to do to get really back to where I was prior to that, and to keep going ahead. I mean, there's been a lot of work from there until now, where it's mind-blowingly different for me, where it's hard for me to even imagine having that sort of reaction to anxiety that I did 10 years ago. So it worked, but I wasn't like, okay, I'm gonna go out and just throw myself into the center of a crowd kind of thing. That wasn't gonna happen. And there's a couple reasons for that. One is I'm just not that kind of person. You know, that's just not something I enjoy. So it's not going to make me enjoy it. It's going to keep that fight, flight, freeze response from firing off when it doesn't need to. But if there's something I don't like, it's not going to magically make me enjoy it, without finding a way to. You can get there. It's work, and we're going to get to that. But also because of where I was, and this is important, is accepting where we're at the start of our journey. Is I went from having a panic attack, leaving the house, like I said, only going to the grocery store at like 11:30 at night when I knew nobody would be around, to going back to a soccer game with 20,000 people. That was huge. And from there, that was my starting point. I had to keep pushing myself, keep going past those boundaries into other situations, raising the tension I would feel, not overloading myself, because that can have a negative impact, but just continuing to push myself forward into new situations, to learn to be comfortable with the discomfort using the techniques that I learned from doing hypnosis, from having an anchor, from learning mindfulness grounding exercises that I still use on a daily basis, that just because it just helps us be better, right? So going from there, you start to build it up. It's like if you start going to the gym, you're not, and you've never been before, you're not going to be able to lift, 400 pounds right away. You have to work up to that. You're, you have to learn to walk before you can run. And before you can walk, you have to learn to stand. So there's a process, and everybody is different depending on where they're at. So we can look at like what's our definition of success there. And one of the things that can also hold us back is our mindset. So this is a huge thing, our mindset, our beliefs. What's the story that we're telling ourselves? And I know before hypnosis for me, I went to the doctor. I'm like, this is happening. I need something for this. And they were no help at all. They wanted to give me drugs that weren't going to work, that had terrible side effects that I wasn't willing to have, that I wouldn't be able to just quit taking. It wasn't going to help me. And then they go, oh, you're agoraphobic. So then I have this, oh, this is wrong with me. And that's a story, and that can actually make things worse if we give in to that. And I'm not saying a diagnosis is bad. It's absolutely not. It's good to know what's going on if your medical professional is doing it right, by all means. But having that can change the narrative of the story that we tell ourselves, and that can drive our behaviors. It can put us in this victim mentality, which I absolutely hate, because it takes away our personal empowerment. It says that, oh, I can't do this because XYZ. There's a list of reasons, all of them bullshit, about why we can't change, why we blah, 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 you know? Instead of just being like, yeah, this is an issue, but I still want to get to my goals. So I'm not going to let it be one. And again, a lot of that comes down to accepting where we are. If we're in a mindset of, well, nothing works out for me, this is never going to work, why should I even bother, and we're down in apathy, well, why are you even talking to a hypnotist anyway? You have to be at that point where you're like, this has to change. This has to change now. And I'm the one that has to take matters into my own hands and do something to change it, because you have to change it. I can't help you otherwise. You have to make that decision that you're going to change. I'm not making the change for you. I'm your subconscious Sherpa. I'm telling you where to put your feet. I'm telling you where to grab hold. But at the end of the day, you're the one that has to climb that mountain. That's you. And I want my clients to feel empowered, to be able to go out and to step into that tension and be comfortable with it and keep adding onto it and keep growing and building, because like that's the thing, this is all about personal growth. We're never ever done growing. People, I always said, we're like trees. Nobody thinks of trees as getting older, they just keep growing. We're the same way. We are always growing until we're dead. But until we take that last breath, we are always growing. There's always places that we can keep improving, keep getting better, keep moving forwards. So your mindset is something that can prevent hypnosis from working for you. And if you don't want it to work and you're coming to a hypnotist for whatever reason, again, I'll see this with smokers. It's like, I don't want to quit. I love it, but my wife has been bugging me. So I figure, why not? I'll do this and see what happens. That's not a good mindset to be in. You're at that point, they don't want to quit. They want to blame me, throw me under the bus to their wife so they can keep smoking. Go, well, I went to a hypnotist. I tried everything. I guess it's just impossible. That's the wrong mindset. Hypnosis isn't going to work at that point. You have to want to change. You have to be ready for it. You have to be at that threshold where you're saying, this has to change. I'm taking action to take control of my life, to change this thing, no matter what it is. And belief is another part of it. If you can make it being, oh, well, this isn't going to work, you're putting a wall up. Again, it's mindset. So you have to be open to that idea that this can change, and this is a way to do it, and start noticing that in the world. So it's not mind control. I'm not Shazam, and now everything is different. It's coming from you. It's something you want, and you will feel different, and it will open things up so you can start taking those steps. But again, you're the one that has to really take those steps. Some people are not that suggestible. That's another reason. But I think a lot of that really comes down to the communication between the hypnotherapist and the client. How much trust is there? How much belief have I given to them? Have I demystified the process and explained how it works, the model of the mind I use correctly in a way that they understand, that they're going to be open to what we're doing? And sometimes that's difficult, because I love to nerd out on hypnosis, and I'm really looking forward to being at HypnoThoughts Live. I'm speaking there again this year. It's the largest hypnosis conference in the world. It's happening in a couple weeks, and I love being around other hypnotists and being able to geek out on stuff. I can't talk about that sort of thing in daily life with clients, because if I explain how something is going to work, well, that technique might not work, because then the mind's on alert for it, especially if somebody's hyper analytical. And because this subconscious is resistant to change, it wants to stay the same. That's why we have so much trouble changing. So the reason it's going to be playing every trick in the book to stay in that same place. So we don't want to know what's happening. We want to be able to have an honest conversation with it. So what the client consciously wants can shake hands with the subconscious and say, this is going to be better. Let's give it a try. And get the subconscious on board, where it goes, you know what, you're right. I agree with this. Let's do it. So some of that is going to change the effectiveness. Some people are naturally more suggestible than others. And suggestibility is not the same as gullibility. And hypnosis itself is a heightened state of focus that opens us up to become more suggestible, not gullible, suggestible. So that means when the suggestion comes in and you're in hypnosis, and that suggestion, because it comes from the client, I'm facilitating the trance, I'm feeding the suggestions back to you, to your subconscious mind, but it knows that it's coming from you. It recognizes it. So it becomes more receptive to it. He goes, yeah, oh, you know what? That's that's right. That sounds good. Think of it as if you've ever seen the movie A Christmas Story, and Ralphie's going to see Santa Claus, and he just kind of blanks out after all this, asking for the BB gun, and Santa Claus, Ralphie's just there, essentially in a trance, just blanked out, can't think of what to say. Santa, who wants to get out of there, Santa, he's like, "You want a football, don't you?" And Ralphie just kind of goes, "Yeah, yeah, a football." He's open to that suggestion. He's like, "Oh yeah, that would make a good present. I'd enjoy that." It's not what he wanted, the BB gun, but it's not something that he would instantly reject if he got it. So that is, I think, a great scene that kind of shows what suggestibility is like versus gullibility. Um, Gullibility would be doing something completely against your beliefs, against your will, being duped. That hypnosis does not work that way. Your mind would instantly reject it. So that is another thing. But a lot of it comes down to, has it been explained? Have I made it clear of kind of like what our goals are? Have we created a definition of what success looks like in the work that we're doing together? Because it is an alliance. It's a team. It's, I'm not doing something to you. We are working together. You know, all the changes happening in your head, I'm helping facilitate that. And so, do we have a clear outcome? Have I explained my methods clearly? Kind of my model of the mind, how it works, of hypnosis, of what we're here to change. You know, depending on the issue, the way I explain it is going to change. Um, is it something that you truly want? What is your mindset like? Is your mindset in a place of apathy? This is pointless. I don't care. Nothing ever works out. Or are you higher than that in the scale where it's like, I need to change this? Have you moved up into courage where you're like, this is changing now and I'm taking steps to help myself to do it? And this is going to work. Where is your belief at? And where's your belief in yourself at? That's an important thing. And again, how bad do you want it? If I always go back to smoking because it's a great example, because it's such a powerful habit for people. But if you truly want to quit smoking, what are you willing to do? And some people, they might go, "Oh yeah, I want to," but they're not really willing to take that step and actually do it. So that's really what you have to ask yourself. Are you willing to take that step to actually follow through and to move into the unknown? The unknown is scary, you know, and that's why our subconscious mind will resist so much when it comes to changing habits. You know, why it will fire off panic attacks for no good reason, because it, at the end of the day, it thinks it's keeping us safe. That's what it wants to do. It wants to protect us. It wants us to survive. And sometimes staying stuck is it's safer than the unknown. The unknown, anything's possible. It knows what's going to happen, what things are going to look like if nothing changes. It might not be good, but at least it knows. So that's a scary thing. And are you ready for that? Are you ready to talk to your subconscious and get it on board with that? Tell it all the things that that you're gaining, because you're not losing anything. You know, that's the important thing. You're not giving up something. You're gaining stuff. You know, you're not, like I said, with anxiety, we will always feel it in some form or another. It's there for a reason. We've evolved for it. When we do hypnosis for anxiety, we're not destroying or eliminating the ability to feel anxious. What we're doing is we're changing our relationship to it. We are learning how to react differently when we encounter it, and to identify things that are truly a threat and things that are just kind of uncomfortable, and be able to let it go and flow through us easier. So that's, you know, we're not losing it. We're not losing that survival mechanism that stays with us, but we're changing our relationship to it. To when those alarm bells start going off, we're adjusting it so maybe it doesn't have as much of a hair trigger. Maybe it's not as loud, you know, when it doesn't need to be. And logically, we know that. But subconsciously, if it goes off, then it's going to go off to 11. But we're adjusting the volume on that. So with smoking, you're not giving up smoking as much as you're gaining the money that you're saving. You're gaining the years on your life. You're gaining all these other benefits from it. You're not losing anything. And once you understand that, and your subconscious mind understands that, it's generally happy to go along with the change, because it sees it as better. It sees it as something that we're gaining. We're not giving up anything. This is better for us. And we get it to understand how now it's helping us survive much better, much more successfully than the old ways. So that is about all I've got for today. If you're ready to start making changes in your life, go to EBHypno.com, book a call with me. Let's talk about what's going on, see if hypnosis is right for you, and if we're a good fit to work together. Don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel, and hit the bell button so you don't miss any uploads. I've got some great stuff coming out in the next couple of weeks. One's going to be on EFT, which is tapping. I'm going to show you some techniques that will reduce anxiety, even help you reduce urge to smoke in any situation that you're in. You can use this anytime. It goes great with my Gone 60 Seconds social anxiety video. And hopefully, you know, there'll also be some street hypnosis coming from Vegas in the next couple of weeks. So anyway, thanks for watching. Again, don't forget to like, subscribe, and till next time, remember, there's no such thing as problems. There are only situations. Be seeing you.